videos in a different way from a more positional perspective, and hopefully it'll make them easier to understand. So what we're looking at now is the pawn structure of a game that I had against an opponent. I was white, and in this case we see that the kings are castled on opposite flanks. So this will have a huge factor in what kind of game this is. In this case, with the kings castled on opposite flanks, this will be an attacking game. So what both players will do, they'll try to push pawns on the opposite wings to open up lines for their attack, and to hopefully penetrate with the pieces as well. So we see that both sides have successfully done that, and we'll see how each color will benefit from this. We see that black has actually closed the lines on his queen side, but at the cost of having weak dark squares around his king. We will see a white benefiting from this with a common attacking motive called a battery. White in this game will put his queen on d4 and his bishop on b3, and this will create a powerful battery that will take control of his weak a7, the g1 diagonal. But in attack, we will need more than just control of a diagonal to launch a successful attack. We also see that black has thrown pawns up on the opposite wing and has opened up the f-file. Unfortunately for black, it will be white who will benefit from the opening of this file, and once white does, in conjunction with his control of black's weak dark squares around his king, with white's possession of the f-file, this will be fatal. And we see, once white has this, how quickly and painfully it will be felt for black. So to reiterate, we will see that once white takes possession of the dark squares around black's king, he will also then take control of the f-file, and this will be fatal. Unfortunately for black, he will not really have any chance to get any kind of attack going. He will be too passive on defense once white starts taking control of the board. Now that I've explained the positional elements of that position, let's see how they unfolded into the game. I was white. I played e4. My opponent chose the center game, or the Scandinavian defense. I didn't feel like playing the exchange variation of it, so I chose the closed defense, knowing that I will have to protect my e5 pawn with d4, f4, and knight to f3, knowing that there's going to be exchanges with the pawns. I know that white's possession of d4 will be very important, as explained earlier. He attacks it, defense, develops his bishop, attack it, we swap it. When I do this move, I have no intention of taking the pawn. I just would like to weaken black's queen side for later. Protecting my pawn as discussed before. Now I have provoked a weakness in black's queen side. I choose to do this instead of block with my knight, because if he swaps it, that would be getting rid of his good bishop, which would be a good trade for me. Since I've made black create some weaknesses on his queen side, my queen will now go back to the center of the board. Now this move surprised me. I looked and see if that sacrifice was sound, but it is not, and black will soon show why he made this odd-looking move. So I just continue with normal development, and that is why he did it. He's going to strike at my f4 pawn. I have to take with the queen, or else my f4 pawn will drop if I take with the bishop. Now we have officially reached the middle game. So what will happen is, as I stated earlier, it's an Hobbs-Wing Castman game. So throwing your pawns up the board to create open lines is the priority of the day. We will see white and black do this at the same time. And we will see how when white completes it, you will benefit with energy over time. Whereas when black completes it, you'll see you won't be able to utilize these open lines for the attack, and he will be passive for the remainder of the match. On a side note, on the d4 square, as mentioned earlier, white is going to place a knight on d4, and black will have to take this knight, or else white will ruin his queenside pawn structure. And then we will see white getting control of the critical d4 square, which will be very beneficial later on. Starts the pawns rolling. Black plays this to prevent white from coming into the dark squares, a passive move already by black. Black still hasn't developed his knight, and its future is starting to look grim, and we notice again another defensive move by black. Ignores the threat, opening lines is the name of the day. Black is successful in keeping lines closed, but with white's next moves, he will have a constant problem. And that is that battery I was discussing earlier. The move we can see white can already win a pawn thanks to his active play, and we see getting control of that file, which is just brutal. And notice how black's pieces are still on their original squares. That's best play, but we see white can still penetrate quite effectively. So there was a better defense, but white's play is still strong anyway. Now I screwed up, but I knew that I would gain control of the F file, and that would be constant pressure. That's what should have happened. And we see in this variation the F file playing a key role again. And black's already in a bad position, but we'll see once the rook gains control of the F file, it is going to be fatal. So we'll watch that now. Gaining control of that critical file. Slightly better for black is rook to h7, but then white can simply go queen to b8 check, force the exchange, skewer the knight, and his rook will have penetrated again. Now we see white penetrating, it'll be over in a couple moves with a nice tactical shot. To prevent the knight from moving, black thinks he can win the bishop here, but he is in for a rude surprise. I'll give you a couple seconds to figure out what move it is. I'll give you a hint. Black is pretty much in Zuzwang. And the move is, which is a nice job well done by the bishop, is bam. Because white's threat is bishop to d6, and then if rook takes knight, black has to take with the rook. Then white mates with bishop to b8. So this forces him to submit to the forcing exchange, and white will pick up 2 pawns. Here's the forcing exchange. Forced, which removes the defender of the knight. And white has won 2 pawns, and the game is effectively over. A quick cleanup, and it's over. So we see in that game how once white gained control of the dark squares, he followed up by his rook penetrating, and it was all over. So we'll go over that again quickly, and then that will be it. The square d4 plays a vital role. Queen just provokes some weaknesses on the queen side, protecting my center pawn. Starts the attack, and when the lines open up, black is already put on the back heel. He has no time for a counterattack, and white just gets better and better and better. Black does try hard though, but white pieces are set up too favorably for this middle game position. Tries to open up a line, dark squares are brutal. Penetrates. And we saw in those earlier variations, black was in trouble already. Rook seizes the 7th. Tactical shot via the dark squares, and it's all over. So thank you for your time again. And the main theme of that video was actually more at the start, was just how we could evaluate that pawn structure and see that black's heavy pieces were very well prepared for the utilization of that pawn structure, where black tried hard, but his pieces could not utilize those lines because white's pressure put black on the defensive right from the word go. So thank you for your time, and have a nice evening.